Martin Luther King Jr. said, "The great measure of a man isn't where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." You've been impacted by bladder cancer. You either have it or you're supporting someone who does. You've moved out of your moments of comfort into your times of challenge, and perhaps, as we've heard tonight, controversy over the type of treatment you may need. When I was just a few months old, I fell out of my high chair and took the end off my ring finger. You know, I get a 10% discount when I get a manicure. I've only ever had to trim 9 fingernails. Think of the time I've saved. You know, whenever you lose something, inevitably, if you choose to gain from it, you can. When I was 16, I got insulin-dependent type 1 diabetes. And I went from taking 1 injection a day to 2 to 4 to 6, and finally got my insulin pump a decade or so ago. What did I gain from that? I joined a study called the Diabetes Control and Complications Trial, which changed the way diabetes, type 1 diabetes anyway, is treated throughout the world. At 45, I had a mild heart attack. And 8 months later, I had coronary artery bypass surgery. So I'm part of the Zipper Club. What did I gain from that? My heart's in great shape now. And it's a good thing, because at age 52, I started to see blood in my urine. January 2008. And on April 29th, it was a Tuesday, I went to my doctor in 2008 and said, "I'm not worried about this." And he's a good doctor. He looked me right in the eye and he said, "I am." I said, "Well, what are you worried about?" He said, "We have to rule out or rule in bladder cancer." On Monday, Monday, June the 9th, I had my first cystoscopy. And that's why I say I'm glad my heart was in good shape. Because when I heard about what they were going to do, to boldly go where no man has gone before, I felt pretty alone, even though I was in a waiting room full of people. And when he told me that there were tumors that would have to come out, and I had the resection on the 26th of June, it was a Thursday, and on Friday, July the 11th, 2008, was told that it was stage 1, but aggressive, high grade, grade 3. And over the next 2.5 years, I would have 11 cystoscopies, 6 transurethral resections, 34 treatments, installations of BCG, mitomycin C, and one other one called gemcitabine into the bladder. Until finally, in 2010, I was told that the cancer had become muscle invasive. I liked my original equipment. I wanted to keep it, but that wasn't going to be an option. And on December the 15th, I had a radical cystoprostatectomy, where they remove, as you've heard tonight, everything south of your heart. And then in this day of recycling, take part of your small intestine and refashion, in my case, a neobladder. Works pretty well. Never leaks during the day. Of course, when you fall asleep at night, I wear a diaper every night. I can live with that, because now I can live. And you know, whenever you lose something, you can choose to look at what you've lost or what you gain. And I choose to look at what I gain. What have I gained from having bladder cancer? Well, my faith in God is a lot stronger. My appreciation of my wife and my 2 sons, who are adult sons, is a lot deeper. And I have an ardent desire to accomplish the things that I've been put here to do. And the second thing is that I've clarified what is my passion in life, what is my purpose in life, what are my priorities in life, and what's my potential for an impact. Because it's bladder cancer, I call those the 4 Ps. Think about it, you'll get it later. C.S. Lewis wrote, "You don't get second things by putting them first. You get second things by putting first things first." You got to get your priorities in life right. And perhaps bladder cancer for you, as it has for me, will help you to shape what those priorities are. And understand what the passions are in life that make you tick. Paul Alofs, the CEO of the Princess Margaret Hospital Foundation in Toronto, was quoted in the Globe and Mail recently as saying, if you can align someone's passions with their action, you've got an incredible force. Have you figured out what your passions are? Have you figured out what your priorities are? Have you figured out what makes you tick? Maybe bladder cancer and getting bladder cancer can help you refocus. Let me give you 4 things and then I'll quit that may help you. Choose every day to enjoy life. You know what? Enjoyment and joy is not something that comes from circumstances. It's not something that comes from people. It's something you can choose. Choose to enjoy life every day until your face. The second thing is choose to help somebody else. You know, when you can get the focus off yourself and your problems and onto somebody else and their problems, suddenly your problems may not seem so significant or so severe. Help somebody else. One of the ways you can do that is through Bladder Cancer Canada. It's become one of my passions. Because I have that opportunity. Phone calls late at night. Phone calls on Sunday afternoon. Somebody's going in for a radical cystectomy, and they're scared stiff. And the doctor's on the other end of the scalpel, and he's never had one of these, but I have. And I know what you lose, but I know what you can gain. Thirdly, choose to be the example that you wish you had. The mentor. The one that could be your hero. Because you're going through a tough time. And you may not know it, but somebody, and probably a lot of people, are watching how you handle it. And you can be an example of the measure of person that you are. Not in the moments of comfort, but in the times of challenge. And this may be a challenge. Guaranteed it will be a challenge. But you can be an example to somebody, and your wife or your husband needs that example. And your kids definitely need that example. And other patients in the room where you're getting your BCG, or in the place where you're getting your CT scan, or whatever it happens to be, they need that example of you. And then, as James Thurlow Adams once said, a historian, he said, the great value of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. You can spend your life from now going forward having been changed by a diagnosis of bladder cancer. You can do something that will outlast your life for somebody else. Richard Bach, who wrote the 1970s book Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which in this age group many of you probably have read or should have. But he basically said this: here is a test as to whether your mission in life is finished. If you're still alive, it isn't. Still alive? Still awake? Your mission in life's not finished just because you got bladder cancer. In fact, you may find it because you got bladder cancer. Let's go help somebody else. Let's go encourage somebody else. Let's go and be an example of what people in challenge can be for somebody else. And you might just save somebody's life. Thanks for coming tonight.